Hello and welcome back. It's season 2 of the Suffolk Pod Show. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode, and don't forget you can subscribe to the show for free through your favourite podcast directory or from our website.
You can have all the talent, all the understanding, balance in the side, playing style, and our team's got the lot. But when it gets tough, what gets you through is character, resilience, team spirit, and working hard for each other.
Suffolk Pod Show is produced and managed by podtalk.co.uk. I'm Mark Mason.
And I'm Susanna Hornby. Episode 42. We're at the new Wolsey Theatre talking to some of the leading cast members from the smash hit show Never Lost at Home. They are Sarah Whittuck, who plays Sheila, Peter Peverley, who plays the legendary Bobby Robson, and Olivia Foster-Browne, who plays Ange. And we're also chatting with writer and director of the show, Pete Rowe. Congratulations, Pete. Absolutely amazing show. Completely floored us. We saw it on Saturday. Could you tell us, everybody, all of our listeners, a little bit more about Never Lost at Home?
Well, it's the follow-up to the show that we made about Ipswich Town winning the FA Cup, Our Blue Heaven, 3 years ago now. So that was incredibly successful, and at the time, people said, you've got to do another one, you've got to do another one. And obviously the UEFA Cup win was the next big milestone in the club's history. So we knew we'd have to wait 3 years. But I think it's the perfect show for people to come back to the theatre with. We've obviously been closed for quite a long time due to COVID, and we're reopening and getting back to full health and strength now. And to have a show that's kind of celebrating that big moment in the town's history and the club's history seems like the perfect choice to get people back into a theatre and celebrating an event like that again.
Yeah, no, and they are coming back, and it's wonderful to see. And actually, Never Lost at Home isn't something that you dreamt up in your mind. These are real stories about real people.
Yes, I mean, like Our Blue Heaven, it started with a call out from the supporters club to fans, to anybody. I mean, we made the call out on the radio and through the press as well to people who had been part of that journey. In particular, this time with fans who were trying to follow the team around Europe, which was quite a tough ask in those days. And there were some extraordinary stories of the lengths people had gone to get to the away games in Europe and the kind of adventures and scrapes that they'd had on those journeys. So that was the substance of the show. And I've woven those snippets and stories into the story of our kind of fictitious extended family who between them are trying to cover every away game in that season. Because Town was obviously chasing all three. They were chasing the FA Cup and the league title and the UEFA Cup. And there was a lot of hope at the beginning of the season that they would do the treble. And gradually the other two dropped away and the UEFA Cup was the only one that was left. And it was absolutely crucial that they ended what was a fantastic season with a trophy. So it became all about the UEFA Cup in the end.
And it certainly has a happy ending, which you kind of know when you're going into, but you've just got that thing to look forward to. It's just, the whole thing is joyous. That era, Pete, what an extraordinary time in history. And I've met so many people who've actually seen the show already just to say how well you conjure up that time. It wasn't easy, was it?
No, it wasn't. And we had a local researcher, Caleb Haugago, who did some research about Ipswich at that time in that season between 80 and 81. And it was trying to get a sense both of what was happening locally and what was happening nationally and internationally too, so that there are kind of brushes that the fans have with the political situation in the countries that they visit. Although they're brief, there's a sense of the background internationally as well as nationally. And I think that's really important to the story, that there's a context for it, that it doesn't kind of happen in a social vacuum. And I think that that particularly that time of, the growing unemployment and the deindustrialization that was happening within this country at the time, that's a big factor in the story too.
And it comes across right through every single person within that cast, within that family and extended friends, how tough it was. But there was an incredible unity between them all.
Yes, and I think that's what in the show, the theme of the show in many ways is loyalty. Loyalty to your club. Bobby Robson's loyalty to the chairman and to the club that supported him in the early years when he wasn't doing too well. The loyalty of the players to their manager. And that sense of loyalty to your family, to your team, to your town is a central theme of the show.
It's actually made me want to be a football fan, believe it or not. Anyway, so no, moving on. It isn't a play as such. It's everything combined, but the music is fantastic. How did you choose some of those tracks? I mean, there's an awful big library of that time, but they fitted so well.
Yes, I mean, I went through the playlist of 1980 and 81, looking for tracks that would both evoke the period and also fit the story. And some of them are very, so, you know, there's a very violent, aggressive game in Greece, and Eye of the Tiger felt like the perfect track for that. There's some very, very cold games in Poland and Czechoslovakia, so I Can't Stand Up for Falling Down was the show on the song for the game on the ice rink of a pitch, and Cold as Ice for the other one that was in sub-zero temperatures. So some of them have that kind of hook to them, and others are more about the mood. And the St Etienne game, which was reckoned by many people I spoke to be the best performance by an Ipswich side that they'd ever seen, the 4-1 win in St Etienne. And we've used songs that kind of reflect that. So Something in the Air Tonight at the beginning of the match, as this sense of anticipation grows. And then Can You Feel It as the town kind of turn on their match-winning style. And then Everybody Wants to Rule the World as a kind of laid-back celebration of just being on top of everything after that win. So a lot of the time it's about the mood of the fans and the team and the family as well.
No, and it all works so well together. And of course, on top of all of this richness, you've got this incredible styling of the filming of the football scenes and the commentary. It's such an experience to watch, live stream or in theatre. The whole thing comes together beautifully.
Any show about football, the problem is how do you stage the football? Because controlling a ball on stage is an impossibility, really. Even if we had a third of the skill of those footballers that we're representing. So we've decided to do it. We decided to do it in a very stylized way without a ball, but kind of doing an interpretation of those big moments in matches and using a community company made up of our youth theatre and young company and some young dancers from Dance East, who we brought together for a week to film the football sequences on a dark, bare stage with side lighting. So what they are is a kind of mix between football and stylized football dance, I would say. So I think they're faithful to the moments in the matches, but what's great is seeing those young people interpret them in their own way and actually seeing the expressions and the joy on their faces as they score their imaginary goals without a ball. It's sort of air football.
Yeah, and you know what the weird thing is? I didn't even notice the ball wasn't there. It was so cleverly done.
There you go. Yeah.
What a show. And actually, football and theatre, although you wouldn't necessarily put them normally in the same sentence, they go together. Yeah,
I mean, I think there's an awful lot of similarity between the two of them. We found ourselves mixing up, interval and half time and dressing room and changing room in our talk around rehearsal. And it is, the Manchester United ground is called the Theatre of Dreams for a reason. It is a stage on which people are performing, surrounded by a big crowd. There's a drama to it. I mean, I think my love of football is the same as my love of theatre and storytelling, because every match is a story and you don't know what the ending's going to be. And it often involves narrative plots and twists and turns along the way. So I think they have an awful lot in common. I think many football supporters think of theatre as being something that's not for them. They have a view of theatre that it's a little bit highbrow and highfalutin and not got the same kind of raw energy and directness that football matches has. And I hope this show will prove the opposite. And I hope as it is already, we'll get some football fans into the theatre and make them realise that theatre can be as exciting as a football match sometimes too.
Yeah, we hope so too. And conversely, funny enough, you don't actually need to know much about football to enjoy the show.
No, I mean, it follows the story of that campaign, but it's largely about the fans and their feeling about following the team. And I hope there's a lot of humour in it as well. There's a lot of fun to be had along the way in those characters trying to get themselves around Europe and to stay in touch with a team that's being brilliant but struggling as the fixtures pile up. That's the irony, that the more successful it was, the more games it had to play, that team, and the more injuries there were, and the harder it became. So that's part of the story too.
Now, the show is still running now as we talk, obviously, and it runs right through to Saturday the 9th of October. That on the evening, that's the final performance. Now, there's something special that happens at the end of every performance. Can you say? Would you like to say? Because I think it's amazing.
Well, yes. I mean, this again was something that came from Our Blue Heaven, where we approached the players of that FA Cup winning side and asked if they would appear at the end of the show. And they did. I mean, many of them still live around here. Many of them have, after their playing days, settled in Suffolk. And the same thing has happened with this show. Terry Butcher has organised a rota of players from that team, from that squad, to appear one each at the end of the performance. So it's a little bit of a mystery guest. It's a little bit you're not quite sure who you're going to get each night. We know, but we're not letting anybody else know. And I'm very, very grateful to them for agreeing to it. It's a fantastic little bit of icing on the cake. At the end of the evening, when one of those heroes steps out on stage.
It's wonderful and extremely emotional too. You've worked really closely with Ipswich Town Football Club over this production. Yeah. Tell me, did they provide the shirts for the footballers in the sequences?
Yes, they did. They provided the shirts for those young footballers to do the filming, and they've been very helpful and supportive throughout. And obviously we're helping each other in terms of marketing the show. And the company were invited along to a match. It was a perfect time for us. It was the Saturday before we moved into the theatre. Right. So unfortunately, the town lost 5-2 on that afternoon. Oh, no. But it was a great experience nonetheless, and great for the company to feel what it's like being in a football stadium with a full crowd around them.
Yeah, what an experience for them. All brings to the vibe that they deliver off the stage. It's quite something. Thank you, Pete. I'm not going to keep you any longer. I know you're about to rush off because another performance is about to start. But thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome.
Okay. And welcome, Sarah. And you're back on stage at the new Wolsey.
I'm back. Oh, yes, I'm back. And it's what dreams are made of.
Oh, that's so nice to say. I know you were in Our Blue Heaven. Have you been on the stage of New Wolsey before doing that as well?
No, Our Blue Heaven was the first time, although I have worked with Pete Rowe, the Artistic Director, before, doing Return to the Forbidden Planet on tour. All right. Many years ago. Yes, but I just love working here. I really honestly do.
Well, there's something very special about New Wolsey, and I sure feel it every time I step into that building. It's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. It's not only is it brilliant for diversity and inclusion, and really values the community, but it's a wonderful place to work. We get treated very, very fairly. Everyone is absolutely lovely. Honestly, there isn't a single person here that I don't get on with. It's lovely.
That's pretty rare, I'd imagine, too.
It is rare, but I just love working here. I can't say it enough.
Well, you can keep saying it if you like, but we'll edit the rest out.
Yeah. It would get boring if I never stopped.
Now, there is a difference, I'm assuming, between Our Blue Heaven and Never Lost a Home, apart from the obvious of different stories, different ending, different all sorts of things. But this is very much a live stream show as well. Has it made a difference for you on the stage?
Yes. If I'm completely honest, we're still doing what we what we do for the live show, because we've got the live audience in as well. In terms of, there's several cameras in, and I tell you what, if you live stream it, you'll get a better look at the band, because the band are on a sort of balcony on the set with a gauze in front of them, and sometimes you can see through that gauze and sometimes you can't because there's other bits of media playing on there. There's some cameras up inside the band behind the gauze where you can really see what the musicians are doing. I mean, we're all musicians, but we don't all play in this show. We sing, but, so you can actually get a good close-up view of the musicians as well.
No, you definitely can.
Which is really nice.
And watching you sing, Sarah.
And watching me sing. I mean, what could possibly be better?
Right, let's talk about Sheila Coombes, because she is a pivotal character in that family on the stage, and how beautifully you play her, and how, I don't know, just watching you feel just safe in your hands. Not just because you're a great actress, but because of also how you portray Sheila and what she stands for.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, that's really, really lovely. She's a tower of strength. Even though I'm very tiny, but she's a tower of strength. She's very, very warm-hearted. She loves the football, mainly because her family love it so much, and she loves seeing her family happy. So she's that woman. She doesn't fully understand the finer details of football, and if you were to ask her about the offside rule, she wouldn't have the first clue, but she loves it. She loves the occasion. She cares whether they win or lose. She's in it with the family, as football does. It brings the family together and the community together. So she loves all that as well.
And she has quite a task on her hands, because you have, two daughters, one who's pregnant and the other one who's just a mad keen fan and quite hard to control at times. Yes,
and fairly stroppy occasionally.
She's a teenager.
She's a teenager, yeah. I have two boys around that age myself, so... Yes, drawing on experience.
Right, well, you do it very well. As well as that brilliant Suffolk accent, and it's a hard one to get, but you nail it.
Oh, thank you so much. Honestly, that is the best thing you could say to me, because I've been losing sleep over it. It's such a difficult accent to get if you're not from around here, because you can't just put on, you definitely don't want to just do a West Country accent, because that's not right. There's a bit of open vowels like Australia, and there's a bit of, it's a very finely tuned accent, and it's been very, very difficult to get.
Well, you do it well, and you do it subtly too, which is, you're not overdoing it on words or anything. It just seems to be in natural conversation. It's great. And you got specific training for this, obviously.
Yes, the great Charlie Haylock, who worked on the film The Dig, with Ralph Fiennes. Clang. He's an amazing character. He's such a character, and we've had some amazing stories from him. And it's great because he is such a Suffolk man, and you really get a rhythm and a musicality from him. And he's a real character. Love him.
Yeah, I mean, I think, he's just well practiced and well loved, and I've heard a few of those stories, but we haven't got time to go into them now, but they are quite interesting. Okay.
They really are.
Can we talk a bit about you, Sarah, outside of Never Lost at Home? Because you've had, your acting career goes back to am I right, the late 80s?
Not quite that far, although it does feel like about 150 years. But,
sorry, Sarah, that's rude of me then.
No.
Sorry.
No, that's no problem at all. I can barely remember myself. So 93, the end of 93, I started professionally. Gosh, that shows how old I am. I've done lots and lots of musical theatre and lots of actor-musician theatre, and for anyone that doesn't really know what that is, it's the actors are also the instrumentalists. So and it's been a little bit different with all the COVID and everything. There's still lots of rules in place. to protect everybody, which means that quite a few of us aren't actually playing our instruments in the band. I think we're all singing at some point. But, I'd play, for instance, sax, piano, a bit of drums. I've just bought myself a trumpet. I'm starting to learn that. But I'm not playing any of those in this show, which is really strange.
And I presume that's because you said of COVID, you can't just swap instruments around and get into close spaces. Exactly
that, yes. It's nice in some ways because you can just concentrate on the character and I've got several costume changes, etc., etc. So I don't have to worry about. Normally, I'm used to coming off stage, pegging it around the back to the other side, picking up a saxophone, handing a microphone to someone else. It's like a 2.5-hour aerobics class, and twice on a Wednesday and a Saturday. So yes, but it's a lovely experience. It's great.
I'm exhausted thinking about it, not even doing it. Which actually,
it's lovely.
I did want to ask you, this show, for example, Never Lost at Home, is running for 30 shows. Okay?
Yes.
So how on earth do you maintain your strength throughout that and health?
Well, I'm not sure how everyone else does it, but I have changed my diet. I don't know about anyone who might be listening to this podcast, but I ate very poorly during lockdown. I started with really good intentions, did loads of exercise, loads and loads of exercise, and ate very healthily for about 5 months, and then I just gave up. Because I'd done it too much and I was really bored, and I just ate cake and bad food and biscuits and comfort food. So I've had to change that for this. I'm stuffing myself with fruit and vegetables. Got some Manuka honey in my dressing room for my throat. And I'm doing a lot of walking because, as I'm sure you know, the parking in Ipswich is not in abundance.
No.
So I've found a little spot somewhere and I leave my car there all week, do lots and lots of walking. So it's doing me a lot of good, actually.
Yeah. And doing that healthy diet and all the walking, it's just for your mental health. It's amazing too.
Well, my mental health is always at its best when I'm actually doing a show, because it's my passion and I love it. I really, really love it. So I feel completely fulfilled when I'm doing a show. And other than that, we warm up our voices and our bodies before every show together on the stage and tune up the instruments. Yeah, it's a good regime. It's healthy living.
I've asked everyone this, so I'm going to ask you too. What's your favourite moment of the show?
Oh, that's a tough one. I love it when we're all on stage together. I love when Liv sings the Tina Turner song at the end, Simply the Best. And because we're all on the stage together, and it's the first time that I get to really look out at the audience and look at their faces. And some of them are regular theatre goers, and some of them have never been to a theatre before, but they're massive football fans. And grown men, I've seen grown men weeping, and because of the footballers that are involved, and because of the story, and they might have been there at the time, and it brings people's nostalgia flooding in, and so the response is so uplifting. I can't tell you. I've never really seen anything quite like it in a regional theatre. It's heart and soul. That's what I love. I really love that.
I don't think I can say anything after that, Sarah. You've put it beautifully, and thank you. I can't.
Thank you.
I'm speechless. You've beaten me. Totally. Oh. Thank you so much for your time and for being on the show. Much good luck with the rest of the run. May it last for as long as you want it to, because I know.
Thank you so much. It's a limited run, so people need to get their tickets.
Absolutely, you heard her right there. Thank you. I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
All right. Thanks very much. Bye bye.
And welcome to Peter Peverley, who plays Bobby Robson in Never Lost at Home. Hello, Peter.
Hello, you all right?
Oh, very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Yeah, having a great time here in Ipswich as usual. Every time I come, I always have a good time. So yeah, no, we're all just resting after the first weekend, after we've opened the show. But no, we're having a great time.
There has been an incredible response so far to the few productions that you've put out, and really we've watched it too on Saturday afternoon. And just say we were transported to an era and to a time that was absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, yeah. I mean, yeah, the response is great so far, and just hopefully word of mouth will get round, and the fans and the theatre, general theatre going public will come back to the theatre, because that again that's what we want here at the Wolsey. We want people to come back after the horrid time we've all had, and this is a perfect show to do that, because it's about community, it's about celebrating your local history, all through the football club and through a local icon. So it's the perfect way to come back out.
No, it really is. Now, Pete, you weren't born in Suffolk, I can tell.
No, I wasn't. You could have very far away, about 300 miles away, apparently.
But is it true?
79, I think it is.
All right, okay. Oh, exactly. You've measured it. You've walked it.
Yeah. Driven it many times.
Yeah, I bet you have. But you were born not so far away from where Bobby was born or lived.
Not far, about 15 miles. I was I was born in Gateshead, but I was brought up in Washington, which was part of County Durham before they changed all the boundaries and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess I'm about 15 miles from Sacriston, where Bobby was born, and Langley Park again is very close to Sacriston. So yeah, very, very close actually. But I come from the same family background. My grandparents were worked down the pit, as many families did up there. So I have a good knowledge of that area. When I'm not working theatre, I play the workmen's clubs up there, and I go to all these villages still. I still go to, there's a club in Sacriston where I play. So I'm still connected to all those communities. And they're still there, so I have a good understanding of the folk up there,
Yeah, and also obviously a perfect representation of Bobby's voice. Is it uncanny how well you do his accent?
Yeah, I guess it's just because I've got a head start because I'm from up there, and it's good casting from Pete, and I have the same sort of timbre of voice. So yeah, it's just it's sort of all just goes together, So obviously I listen to him, and I listen to his inflections and the way he stresses certain words, and you just sort of just keep listening and working at it, and yeah, it's pretty close. I mean, we're still working on it, we still have to sort of keep on top of it, but yeah, I have a good. I'm sort of 70% of the way there with my own voice, really, so that's good.
Well, it's amazing, and I think also wasn't there a time once, I don't know whether it was this show, or Our Blue Heaven, when you stepped onto the stage as Bobby Robson, and you had some of Bobby's original peers sitting in the audience.
Well, we did, yeah. I mean, the press night when we did Our Blue Heaven, we had them all in, but we did a rehearsal for Our Blue Heaven when Mick Mills and Pat Godbold, who worked with him a lot. Pat was his PA for many, many years, and Mick Mills, and that was obviously was Bobby's captain in the team. So they came to a rehearsal about 10 days before we opened the last time, and that was the first time anyone who had actually known Bobby saw what I was doing with him, and that was very nerve-wracking. But they were very complimentary, and I sort of got the stamp of approval. So once I knew I was on the right lines, you just keep going with it. And obviously, first night when you step in front of an audience for the first time in front of many people who loved him is nerve-wracking. But very quickly, they know that they're with you, and once that happens, you just let it fly and just sort of. But it's a shared thing, I think. Theatre, working in any type of theatre, but with this show, it's a shared love, because I've grown very fond of Bobby Robson as how I imagined him as a man, and which I think is important if you're going to play someone. And obviously the audience love them, so it's just a sort of two-way thing. It's just a sort of circle of love, you know what I mean?
Well put.
But for the team as well, for that team in those times, it's great just to see people being transported back to their youth as well.
Yeah,
I mean, we've had people, you know, who were like, they went to all the games when they were young men and women, and they're back there, and it's very special to be able to do that to people, to take them back to a time in their lives that was joyous. It's a great feeling.
And you do it brilliantly. Now, you know we're going to ask you... Oh, no, of course. You know we're going to ask you to give us a couple of lines. Are you limbered up? Are you going to give us a bit of Bobby?
I think so, yeah. As I was saying, I haven't got my script in front of me. When you do it cold, it's always a bit nerve-wracking. I'll see how it comes out. There's a piece in there, there's a speech in the show. There was lots of speeches that he's geeing the team up, and there's one in particular that sort of once they've beaten Aston Villa and they're in their away dressing room, and he says, "You can have all the talent, all the understanding, balance on the side, playing style, and our team's got the lot. But when it gets tough, what gets you through is character, resilience, team spirit, and working hard for each other."
Oh, lovely. No, it's brilliant.
And it's just a word, you know, his vocabulary and his ability to inspire. It was just phenomenal. So it's great to do those speeches. You know?
No, it's wonderful. And also actually doing it when you're performing on the stage, you're talking almost to the front few rows as if they were your team. It's really clever.
I know, yeah. That's sort of the fun part. I'm really enjoying that. I mean, we've only done a few shows, but I think that developed through the run because, that was a decision obviously Pete made that we would use the audience as the players, and it's going really well. Obviously, during rehearsals, I've been doing to sort of stage managers and people that sit in the front row. It's great to have an audience there now. Yeah, there's some people react in different ways, and it's so it's good for that. Yeah, that's a really good element that we've got this time, which we didn't really have last time. We did it in one speech last time, right? But Pete sort of pushed that idea now, and it's working really well, I think.
It's really effective, and we see a lot of you on the stage too throughout the performance, which is great.
We do, yeah, more so than last time, as I say, which is sort of nice. We see him on the training ground, and you know, on an aeroplane traveling back from a game, and he sort of interacts a bit more with the other characters. So I think this one, the last time he was more of a sort of figure that would come in and comment on the action and sort of give his prophecies about football and all that, which was lovely. But this time he's sort of embedded more into the story, I think, because he's got scenes with Arnold Muren as well, which again is a nice device to sort of, you know, how they changed their style once those two Dutch players came in. So that's been a nice challenge to make him a sort of a more of a real figure, a sort of real person, because we see not his dark side, but we see him worried about not winning anything that year. So he does go through a little bit of a sort of journey on this as well. So that's a nice challenge to play as well.
So you just carry the audience right through, Pete. It's quite phenomenal the way you do it. And I know we're talking about your voice and all the rest of it, but the moves, the way you walk, the way you use your hands, I think I'm looking at Bobby Robson. So
Well, that's good, because I think it's the physicality really that sort of does it. Because I always think with these characters, because I've done this before, I've done this sort of work before. I have a character in the Northeast that I do. There's a comedian up there called Bobby Thompson, the Little Waste, and he was a club comedian, and he was massive just in the Northeast. And I've got a one-man show about him. I tell his life story is a one-man show. And so I've studied him as well. He had this very, very particular act that he used to do in the clubs. So again, I've studied that very, very closely, and that's really close to him as well. And I think if you get these mannerisms off well enough, I think what you have to, if you can just tweak the audience's memory of these people, and they do a lot of the work. Do you know what I mean? You just have to take them back and just sort of like present this figure in front of them enough to just let their imagination take them back, which is very theatrical. And I think that's what I aim to do. It's not I don't think of it as an impression of him. I think of us as just a sort of theatrical representation, really. And I really love doing that sort of. There's loads of great footage of him from the Ipswich days, and he's got certain characteristics that he always does. He's what's a gift to it, because he's very demonstrative in his body. He's very physical, in the way he moves and talks and expresses himself, which is ideal to sort of to look at,
Yeah, it is. Like I said just to you earlier, it's uncanny. It really is incredible. Now, Pete, you're not just an actor, not that's not enough, but you're a musician.
Yes, I'm a musician,
and a singer.
Musician. I've been a musician and a singer, yeah.
And you said you play the clubs up north. You're still doing that? Yeah,
I do, yeah. It's so if I'm not working in the theatre, we're lucky enough in the northeast to have a working men's club scene, which obviously isn't as big as it was, but it's big enough for you to earn a living as a singer. If you go around, I mean, not so many bands these days, but singer, you take your backing tracks out and a couple of instruments, and it's great. So I enjoy doing that. It's all sort of 60s, 70s, 80s stuff. Things that people again remember. But what's really lovely about doing it is that I've got I can tell lots of stories about when I played Bobby Robson in Ipswich and other things. Do you know what I mean? It becomes a sort of a really lovely evening where I can tell them stories and talk about just different times in the northeast and different sort of theatre jobs that I've had, and if the audience are interested enough, we can sort of go off on tangents and do that. But but it's something I've done since I left school. I started off in bands when I left school before I became an actor, and I always kept the skills going. So I'd always have the two, and thankfully there's companies like Pete who are doing actor musician shows, and it's just a great way to work, to do both. So I really love it. Do
you write your own songs?
I do, yeah. A bit of a songwriter,
Okay.
I do acoustic shows and stuff like that, and because there's an acoustic scene in Newcastle. So there's a sample of some of my, because I've got a website, petepev.com,
right?
And there's some songs there that I write. It's sort of more of a hobby, really, but there's some decent stuff on there.
Gonna check it out.
I only put the good stuff on there. There's lots of stuff that I wouldn't. And I'm in a band as well. Play bass in a band called Mrs. Beckett up there. So I just try to keep busy doing lots of different things. Really, obviously there wasn't much happening during the pandemic. I was delivering parcels during the pandemic.
Well, it's like so many,
which got us by. It was fine, but hopefully.
Oh, are you still there?
But I am, yes, sorry.
No, and also you sing and play in the show.
I know, that was a real big surprise, because once I spotted how much Bobby was on, I thought, well, I'm not going to get a chance to do that this time. But Ben Goddard gave me a song to sing, which is really nice, and some guitar work to do. So, in fact, that song's now going in my club set when I go back up north.
Great.
I've already downloaded the backing track for it, so that's going in my set. It's a lovely song.
It's ELO, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an ELO tune. Yeah. So the songs are amazing in the show. Some of the vocal performance. I stand backstage listening to some of the vocal performances, and they're amazing. So it's like a gig as well as a theatre performance, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's a good way of describing it. In fact, a perfect way.
Yeah.
Right, last question, Pete, because I know you've got to go. Get ready, get that wig on.
Get the wig on, yeah.
Get the bobby on. Ready? What's your favourite moment of Never Lost at Home?
Oh, it's quite hard because we're quite early. There's a speech I gave in this. I don't want to give too much away, but there's a speech when the team went to St Etienne before the semi-finals. The night before, they enjoyed themselves a little too much. Yeah. And there's a speech Bobby gives to them, and I'm loving doing that because it's quite a slow burn because the audience they're slowly cotton on to what's going on, and there's a really lovely feeling of recognition. And so I'm really enjoying that speech at the minute. But again, as I said, I'm just loving listening to the music backstage, and so that's a particular speech I'm enjoying at the minute. So, but all of it at the minute, just because it's fresh. Yeah, you just love all of it. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Pete. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you, and good luck.
It's an absolute pleasure,
Well, thank you, and good luck with the rest of the show.
Great stuff. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Introducing Olivia Foster-Browne, who plays Ange in Never Lost at Home. A big welcome, Olivia. Nice to have you on the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a real pleasure, actually, to talk to you. We saw the show on Saturday afternoon.
Did you?
Yes, we watched it on live stream.
Oh, brilliant.
Congratulations. You play Ange so beautifully.
Thank you.
Honestly, you came across so well. You made her so strong. She's funny. She's just such an important part of the show. Tell us a bit more about her and how you got to play her.
I would agree in the way that you've described Ange. I think she's a very strong character. She's very funny. She's very witty. And I also think she's quite layered. There's moments where she's quite smart. There's when Smudger comes in and she's sat reading a book, that shows another level, another side to her, which is quite fun, actually, because I actually sit and read that book. I'm reading Sherlock Holmes.
It's something that, does it take a long time to get into a personality, a role like Ange when you get onto the stage? Because obviously this is a person who existed as she is 40 years ago. Yeah.
I personally haven't found it that hard to get into the role of Ange, because I think me and Ange are actually very similar. When I first read the script, I was like, oh yeah, I'd absolutely say that in this situation as well. So it's quite fun to be able to play a character that's so close to who I feel I am as a person, because and then it doesn't feel like acting. I'm just having fun on stage. So yeah, it doesn't take me as long as if I was playing someone completely different to my natural personality and character, because I feel like I can kind of walk on the stage and me and Ange are kind of very similar. We are as one.
No, it's fantastic. Ange, and we love your relationship with Spudger. Obviously you're husband and wife, but also there's a real vibe between you two. It's really exciting to watch you both.
That's great to hear you say that, because we're just as close off stage as well. Me and Keanu, we did our final auditions together. So that's when we first met. And I'm guessing, they must have seen that chemistry between us in the audition room. But people have said to us, during rehearsals, oh, did you know each other beforehand? Or were you good friends before? No, we literally met each other from the beginning of rehearsals, but we just get on really, really well.
It just comes across. It's like you've been together for years.
Yeah, we really are. We do function like an old married couple. We don't call each other by each other's names. I call him husband and he calls me wife.
It's brilliant. And like you said, there are some funny moments with you guys. Really, really very funny. A little bit about you, Olivia. When did you first know you wanted to be an actor?
It's quite cliche, really, but I've always known I wanted to be an actor from quite young. Actually, I've always loved being on stage and performing in front of people since I can remember. I've been in dance and performing arts, Saturday schools and stuff, since I was about 3 years old. So it's always it's been quite easy for me in terms of knowing what I wanted to do, because I've always known what I wanted to do and I've never really questioned it.
And did you find that easy? You just naturally took to it, obviously through theatre groups and school, and then you went on to drama college, I guess.
Yeah. It was quite, not, I wouldn't say an easy route, but I never had the trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, because from young I was like, I want to be on the stage.
Yeah.
I did drama groups and stuff, and a BTEC at college in performing arts, and then I did my degree at Bird College in Southeast London.
Right. Okay. And since then, you've I think I read somewhere that you had a major part. Was it last year or the year before? Sorry.
Yeah. So I graduated Bird College in 2019, and then I joined the cast of Book of Mormon, the UK and European tour.
That's it.
So I was a swing, and then I was first cover Nabalungi, who's the leading lady, which was an amazing opportunity. So basically a swing just covers all the female roles in the show. So obviously if anyone ever went off sick, I'd be there standing by, ready to go on and take their place.
And quite nerve-wracking, really, I would imagine, if you're just thinking, oh, they are not going, suddenly you have to step up. Do you have to sort of prepare literally every night before the show?
Yeah, so we have what we call a swing Bible. So it's literally a notebook or an iPad, and it has you're basically your brain in it. It has maps on each track and each character, what they do, where they go, what they say, and it's just a case of learning that and keeping on top of it, really, so you're ready at a moment's notice.
And then, how did you come around for auditioning for this show?
So I got called in around June-ish time, and I went in for a singing call first with Ben and Pete, and honestly, I wasn't actually expecting much because I knew it was an actor muso show, and I don't play any instruments, so I didn't think I had much of a shot, because they did ask me in the room. They said, "Oh, do you play any instruments?" And I had to be, obviously you have to be honest at that point, because I said no. Like I can barely play piano, but I can give it a good go.
Well, I think, obviously your singing is quite something. That closing number in the show, Olivia, is absolutely wonderful.
It's a lot of pressure because obviously Tina Turner.
Yeah.
It's a big sing, isn't it? It's a big sing, so it's a lot of pressure. So hopefully I'm trying to give it, do it justice. It's just about having fun with it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you do it plenty of justice. Absolutely plenty.
Yeah.
And wearing those boots as well. I'm quite jealous of those.
Yeah, I do. I love those boots. I can't lie. I feel great in them. You should see me backstage. I'm strutting about like it's fashion week.
Can't blame you. Cannot blame you at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to let you go because I know we're getting near to showtime again. I'm asking everybody this. What's your favourite moment all the time or so far of Never Lost at Home?
It would have to be between, still haven't found what I'm looking for, which is the final of the UEFA Cup, because obviously we're standing, we can see the audience, and you can just see the emotions on everyone's faces, and it can get quite emotional. And it's just quite a profound moment. Or when I'm singing to whichever footballer is on stage with me and the confetti cannons blow, that's just a great moment as well. If I don't get confetti in my mouth.
Yeah, yes, because there's quite a bit of it. But honestly, we know you've got to go, but we have loved talking to you. Thank you so much for giving us a little insight. Thank you for having me. No, it's a pleasure. It's giving us an insight into the wonderful character of Ange, and of course into you too. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Never Lost at Home runs until Saturday the 9th of October. You can buy auditorium tickets or live stream tickets at wolseytheatre.co.uk. Thanks for listening to the Suffolk Pod Show. Find us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, or you can visit our website, podtalk.co.uk. And here's our disclaimer.
The Suffolk Pod Show will not be held responsible for any omissions or errors in its podcast.
The Suffolk Pod Show is produced purely for entertainment purposes. Views and opinions are that of our own or that of our guests.